folks, welcome back to Market and Reads. I'm Eleanor and this is my slightly belated December wrap-up. I got ill last week, so you got my December Owl Crate unboxing, which I had pre-filmed. So now you're getting my December wrap-up. So I did do a decent bit of reading in December. I read 9 different things, and hit my goal of 120 books, as I said in a previous video. So what did I actually read in December? Well, I started the month by finishing off one of my October books, Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. This is one of my Owl Crate books. Gorgeous purple sprayed edges. So this is science fiction YA, and it's basically set in a universe where there's this prophecy about the goddess Reborn becoming empress, but most of the royal family, who I think the royal family for some reason are the only people who can actually touch iron and not have it rust in their hand. I'm not sure why. But they were basically killed off, and so there's no one except the Duchess left. And so she's going to add her heir, and we meet this girl who is a criminal and who is working with a bunch of criminals, but in particular she has an android, D, who she adores. And so it's really interesting because there's this romantic tension between this girl and this android, even though the android can't actually have feelings, but they're really, really close, because he was with her when she was found drifting in an escape pod, but his memory is corrupted, and so she's desperately trying to find a new memory core. But most androids are hived because they were blamed for the fire that killed the royal family. So there's a missing space princess, there's androids, there's a sinister figure behind what had happened in the past, who no one really knows who was responsible. It's all just blamed on the androids. And there's this young noble who is also trying to find the same place, that the same lost ship that the girl and android are, because his father went missing with the ship, and he wants to know what happened. And events start to happen, and I really, really liked this. So it's multiple point of view. There is eventually a queer couple. There is also the girl and the android, there's some fascinating stuff in here about artificial intelligence and what is required to give artificial intelligence emotions, and what happens when artificial intelligence gets emotions. So it's the first of the series, so I will probably actually end up continuing the series. But I really recommend Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. So next up, I read Uncanny magazine issue 25. Now I had it turned out, already read a couple of stories from issue 25 because they both got nominated for the Hither Awards, and I really liked them. So it was a pretty good issue for me. Issue 25 of Uncanny magazine, edited by Lynne M. Thomas and Michael Damian Thomas. In the two stories in question, the two stories in question, T. Kingfisher's story, The Rose McGregor Drinking and Admiration Society, which is like a very Irish sort of tale, with all these fae who are sitting around drinking, and sort of they've had the tables turned on them by this woman, Rose McGregor, who shags them and moves on and leaves them pining, which is usually what they do to women. So that's hilarious. And The Thing About Ghost Stories by Naomi Kritzer, which is like an academic who is studying the way ghost stories develop, and the types of ghost stories that there are, intertwined with her own ghost story because her mother had dementia and then passed away. And every time she meets mediums, they keep telling her that your mother's sitting next to her and she wants you to find something. And so it's this fascinating intermix of academia and folklore and ghost stories, and dealing with a parent that's got dementia. So it's a really touching, nice story. I really, really liked it. Then I read Foolish Hearts by Emma Mills. So this is another of my Our Crate books. It's YA, it's contemporary YA. It starts out at a party where our main character accidentally witnesses the breakup of her all-girls school's it couple, which is a lesbian couple. And then they kind of accidentally end up having to do the school play with the boys' school next door. They accidentally have to work with each other on an essay, and since they don't do so well on that because they can't cooperate, so they end up working on the school play, and so there's romantic shenanigans in the theatre, and it's about finding your place and following your passions and respecting that other people have passions, and that their passions may be different to you. And it's a really cute book. I really, really liked this one. I really recommend Foolish Hearts by Emma Mills. Then I finished the book that I keep dropping from my lap here, Jane Austen's Mansfield Park, which I was rereading. So this is probably now my second favourite Jane Austen. It's the story of Fanny Price, the impoverished relation who lives with her cousins, her aunt and uncle the Bertrams, and her cousins, and the romantic entanglements that ensue when the daughters are grown up and Fanny is still left behind, but she's in love with her cousin, and yeah, it's a classic and I love it. So then I read Uncanny Magazine issue 26, which I believe is the first of the 2019 issues. I really enjoyed this issue. There was a lot of really good stuff in it. I can't remember the details of most of the stories at the moment. I did make note, though, on my Goodreads of a few stories that I think are probably nomination worthy for the Hugos. So there was one by, I just noted down the authors. So Fran Wilde, whose work I've really liked before, Marissa Linger, and Inda Lauren, sorry. So this particular issue was really fantasy heavy and had a lot of stuff about women. Like, I think it was the Inda Lauren story, Dust Daughter, was about a girl whose mother had gone away from the magic that her grandmother practiced, and had tried to keep her daughter away from it, but her daughter just kept being drawn towards the magic. And it's about the group of... It's after her grandmother's death, but it's about the group of women who is... I don't think the word coven is really used, but the group of women who used to practice magic with her grandmother, and they're bringing her in and teaching her and giving her a place to belong and a place to mourn her grandmother properly. And it's just really, really gorgeous. So, yeah, that was a really good issue of Uncanny Magazine 26, again, edited by Lynne and Michael Thomas. And then I read, since I was in Tasmania, I finally read my first Georgette hire. So after some recommendations from people on Twitter, thank you Leaf, thank you Tansy, and thank you Kathleen, I read The Masqueraders, which is a Georgette hire romance in which it starts out with a brother and sister rescuing a young woman who has kind of eloped with her admirer, only to discover that he's a brute. And they haven't been married yet, they're still on their way, and so they rescue her and take her back to her father. It turns out that the brother and sister, they are a brother and sister, however they are disguised as each other because their father is a champion masquerader who's also always a con man, basically, always getting them into scrapes. And the latest scrape there, he's told them to go to London to lie low and disguise themselves as each other. And, of course, romantic shenanigans ensue. So it was really funny. I really enjoyed it. Like, a lot of the time, the funny was just me going, oh my god, I cannot believe this is happening. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm going to definitely read some more Georgette Heyer at some stage. Then I followed up by another romance, but a romance that is also a murder mystery. So I read Hither Page by Sebastian. So this is a sort of a murder mystery / romance / gay romance set just after World War II in Britain. one of the main protagonists is a doctor who has settled back in his home village and is trying to just live a normal life without, anything that might trigger his trauma from the war. And then one of the locals ends up dead. And that draws the attention of a sort of dark and almost unofficial part of the intelligence services, and we get a second young man coming down who had actually been treated by the doctor in the war, who is a spy. And so we have a doctor and a spy with different goals and a murder in town. And yeah, it's very cute. It's very cute and it was a lot of fun and I really, really enjoyed it. And I think this is the first book in a series, so I'm hoping I'm going to be able to find more of Cat Sebastian's murder mystery with gay romance. It was really awesome. Then I read this, which is Star Wars Resistance Reborn by Rebecca Roanhorse. So this is the book that is the sort of the lead up to The Rise of Skywalker, but it's actually set right after The Last Jedi. And so it's essentially, this is Leyh sending out people to try and find the allies that didn't answer her and to try and find out why her allies didn't answer her when she put the call out. So there's a lot of Poe Dameron, there's a lot of his X-Wings pilots, there's a lot of other characters that I believe have come from other bits of the new book world of Star Wars. And there is Wedge Antilles. There he is. There's a lot of Wedge Antilles in this, which is one of the reasons I really wanted to read it. Wedge Antilles at this point has retired, has settled down with his wife, Nora Wexley, on the planet that was in the Aftermath series, which I've still only read the first one. I really need to read the second and third. And yes, he's getting a call, snap, Nora's son turns up with his wife, and Wedge Antilles is getting this call to arms, from this farm. He's living this retirement as a farmer, basically with his little plot of land and with his vegetables and with his Star Wars chickens. I can't remember what they're called, but they're Star Wars chickens, basically. And then his retirement is interrupted. Poe goes on a mission to Corellia to find a list, because as it turns out, the First Order has been arresting anybody who might stand against them, and that's why people didn't answer Leia's call, because they're not there to answer. But yeah, this is a really fun, adventurous Star Wars book. It's Rebecca Roanhorse whose writing I really like. And it's, it's my favourite X-Wing boys. It's Wedge Antilles and Poe Dameron. How was I ever going to not love this story? Resistance Reborn. I really enjoyed it. And then to finish up the month, I read Lumberjanes Volume 6, Sink or Swim. So this one is written by Shannon Waters and Kat Leyh and illustrated by Carrie Peach. So it's Lumberjanes. It's a bunch of girls having a great time and having supernatural adventures. Most of this one is actually about, there are portals, and they have a new camp leader who is a werewolf, who is a pirate, who is on shore because the Selkies have stolen her boat. Because the Selkies think that she has stolen one of their skins. Shenanigans ensue, monsters ensue, whirlpools ensue, and of course friendship always wins out. So, gotta love me some Lumberjanes. That was how I finished my December. And that was my reading wrap-up for December, and that was my last 2019 reading wrap-up. So, let me know down below in the comments if you've read any of those and what you thought of them. Or if you want to know more about any of those books, let me know and I will try and help you out. And I will see you all again really soon. Bye.